This is part one of a two-parter, a conversation with my friend Feodor Chin, Feo for short. Feo is an actor, producer, director, writer. He's been in stuff like The Silent Sea, Hellbound, Sweet Home, and he's also known as the voice of Zenyatta in the Overwatch video game. But most importantly, for my purposes here, he is a longtime, massive Golden State Warriors fan. I've had him on the show before, and it's been too long, so decided to have him on again. We talk about a whole bunch of fun stuff. I won't even get into it. It's all in the show comments and the title of the episode. So sit tight, enjoy, and check out part two coming up very soon. Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and I am joined once again. It's been a minute, man. I'm joined by my good friend Feodor Chin. What's up, Feo?
What is happening, Patrick? And first of all, let me just say congratulations to you, to all of Dub Nation. Congrats. We did it. We did it. It's I'm very happy to be back with you here. It's
Yeah, man. So Feo is a longtime Warriors fan. He was on the show, I believe, early in the season, or maybe even like off season last year.
I think it was like,
it was like right before the season or something.
Yeah, right before, yeah.
And I remember you told me your mom, who was a nurse, took Nate Thurman's blood.
That's right. That's right.
Or drew his blood, didn't like take it, like
right. Yeah, I didn't take it home with her, but
yeah,
in the lab.
Although you could fetch a pretty penny for that.
Yeah.
But I've been wanting to have Feo back on the show. You know, he messaged me, and he was so happy when the Warriors won their fourth title in 8 years, and I finally had a chance to have him on now. And I want to ask you, man, like, because I saw you on Instagram or Twitter or something, your illustrious Instagram, and you were at Chase Center in the postseason. What round, which game, and what was that like?
I was just fortunate, just blessed enough to have been at Game 2 of the NBA Finals.
Oh, dang!
Yeah. And basically, one of my boys from high school, old friend, he's like one of my, like everyone has one, like your richest friend. Basically, like this is my richest buddy.
Yeah, you're my richest friend.
By proxy, yeah. So you're one step away from this guy, but he is he owns his own company kind of thing. But yeah, we grew up in the city. He still lives there. He is, I guess, Merrill Lynch is like on their client list, and so like they have their whatever section seats. And he was like, "Hey man, I got 2 tickets. Game 2. You want to fly up?" And I was like, "Yes." So basically, he got them, and so free, all that, and we were literally, I think, about 6 rows up from the floor, and I never had seats like that before. And they even have like this whole section in the back, like your own little suite where open bar, like. Food, like catered food, like, it was ridiculous. And it's definitely, I had the first time at Chase too. And so it definitely ruined me for any future, visits, I think. But yeah, anyway, so beyond that, we were obviously, you remember we were down, 0-1 and thinking like, oh, this is, this could be bad. Like, this could be like not fun. And yeah, I remember I was pretty nervous still, even I think maybe until that was when Poole hit that first to end the third quarter buzzer beater. But I think up till then I was like, oh, I don't know, because they were up game 1 too, right? And then Boston came back, so I was like, but then it turned out just be like, just a big celebration, and it was. If I never go back to Chase, like that would have been great, a great time for sure. But yeah, it was terrific. I couldn't speak more highly of the play. What I've seen, it's brand spanking new, and the big screens and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but certainly from there too, like from our seats, man. Like I had so about 6 rows back, never been that close before, but it was like seeing. It's different watching it because, like, it's like you're at the playground or something. Like, holy, they're right,
Right.
and it was but it was
And
fantastic.
you really see how massive these dudes are,
Oh yeah, oh
right?
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. You see the refs, and you're like, what are they, midgets? And you're like, no, that's a regular sized dude, you know.
Were you on the player side or the side opposite the players
We
benches?
were opposite the benches.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, the finals, I didn't even realize it was the finals, man. And
yeah,
that was
yeah. It was,
luckily it was a win too,
yeah.
How's the crowd, right? I mean, like, you told me offline that you'd never been to a playoff game, especially during the dynasty run at Oracle. So it's
Mhm.
hard to kind of compare exactly, but you'd been to tons of
Yeah,
games in Oakland.
yeah,
I'm just curious personally, because everybody talks about how the Chase Center crowd,
yeah.
because,
Right.
it's
San
new, it's different.
Francisco. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
And
San Francisco versus Oakland, you get that kind of like, it's bougie and like this wine and cheese crowd and stuff. And so, like, certainly from obviously, like where I was at, like, yeah, it's all it's
yeah.
Expo Central, like just the richest dudes. It's so it's like, yeah, so it was kind of hard to gauge, like the true makeup of the crowd.
Hmm.
But obviously, I mean, how those seats were going for. It's like, yeah, I think hardly anybody can afford to go, but definitely, outside and like on our way to the stadium, it was still the same. I think just real diehard, just Warriors,
Hmm.
crowd. And yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard to say because I think it would probably be more representative to go to a regular season game and to see just what exactly the makeup of the crowd was.
How was the crowd noise overall? I'm assuming they were really loud during the good times, but like
Yeah.
during the bad times, was it like sitting on their hands type deal? Like, oh no, we might go down 0-2, or
Right,
was
right, 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 right,
it?
right, right. I mean, I think they were everyone. Yeah, everyone was pretty into it, and they were definitely yeah. But like I said, there was, at least for my part, a little bit of nervous energy for sure. But I think they still kept it up pretty good, and certainly once they started to get rolling.
What was your favorite part of the whole experience, whether it was like before, at the game, or whatever stuff you crazy kids did afterward?
We kept it pretty tame, but I think like I mentioned that when Jordan Poole hit that buzzer beater at the end of the third, the 3-pointer there, and he looked over like at our side of the because I looked over and kind of point, like he gave that look to the crowd, and it was kind of, he's looking at us, it was just an awesome, it was a great feeling to be there.
Yeah. No, that's fun, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta find a new richest friend if
Yeah, I tell you, man, you gotta, that's what you bankers or lawyers, just whatever you can, you
Shouldn't
can
have
just.
burned all those bridges, huh? So I've talked a bunch in the off season since the title, since the parade,
Yeah.
about the Warriors and the roster construction. And I definitely have stated my thoughts, opinions, hopes, dreams
Mhm.
uh, on the show. But just from your perspective, like, how do you feel about where the Warriors are going? And how are you feeling about, seeing, I mean, free agency technically isn't done.
Yeah.
The off season isn't over, but at this point, seeing how other teams are kind of forming, how do you feel about where the Warriors are right now?
I mean, I definitely feel a lot better with the last couple of signings, right? You know, um,
Hmm.
Jermichael Green, right? The
Hmm.
most recent one, and before that,
Dante DiVincenzo.
that's the one. That's the one. Yeah, and certainly the losing young glove there, Gary Payne too. I think personally, that one hurt the most. And
Yeah.
then like, because yeah, I mean, he was just such a great fit and such a great story. And he there's a guy who really fits like the Warriors like mold. Like it's just
Well, the
tough,
underdog,
tough, smart. Yeah,
underrated
yeah, right. The whole
vibe.
underdog mentality and like tough, smart players. And yeah, but ultimately, in Bob Myers we trust. I mean, it's like because honestly, after 2019 there, where when you lose KD, Clay goes down. You lose Steph, you lose Drake, Clay goes down again. It felt like for a while there that I kept saying like, oh, these guys are like they're snake bit almost. It's like they had made a deal with the devil, to win to go on that first run, and now like he's coming to get his due. It
Yeah.
looked really bad.
Well, I used to say like there was like an Oakland curse once they
Yeah, yeah,
left. Like
right.
last game, Clay tears his ACL, they lose, and then everything is snake bitten, whether it's the
Right.
Steph, Wiseman, et
Yeah,
cetera, et cetera.
all that. Certainly, I think the rest of the NBA had written him off, and even diehard fans like us, I was like, well, if that was it, then like I was happy with what we got.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
Bob Myers, man, I mean, like they had a plan, and it's been working, and so I definitely trust that. Losing great guys like Gary Payton and Otto Porter, uh,
Mm-hmm.
they must have made the right call in terms of like, well, how much is that worth? As far as like the luxury tax and all that. Can we find comparable guys for cheaper? And I think they did, or at least on paper. I feel a lot better going into this next season now, and absolutely, the plan always was to bring up these the youngsters and GP2 and Otto Porter, like they were kind of meant to be temporary, because they were just kind of the stopgap until these guys developed. And
Mm-hmm.
it's looking like they are, hopefully. And then if that's, if it works out, he'll look like a genius again, and it's like, I have no reason to doubt him, right now. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely, like, yeah, it was a bummer for sure, but he's a smart guy, so we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel good about where they're at, and any drop off, say, I mean, Dante DiVincenzo, if you want to, comp him to Gary Payton the second, there's pluses and minuses to each of them. You definitely get a lot more on offense with
Yeah, right,
DiVincenzo. Uh, you lose some on ball defense, of
yeah,
course, and just
yeah,
dedication to defense at point of attack. But you figure it out, right? Like the
right,
Warriors, they've figured stuff out. Nothing is ever set in stone. Teams evolve, and with a team like this, it's like you have those vets who are like standards, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
they're going to be there, and then you have the young guys right now and their standards, and then filling in that middle gap. And obviously, like I always talk about how much I love homegrown talent and
yeah,
how big
yes,
of a fan of like Kaminga I was, you know, before. I mean, when he
hmm
started right before the G League, I'd been studying up on him or reading and watching his highlights, and then Wiseman as well. And as long as he's healthy, I think he has a chance. But
yes, yeah.
for
That's the big
me,
caveat. Yeah,
yeah, huge caveat.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but for me, even with like Otto Porter Jr. and JaMychal Green, I've had some interesting interactions with people on YouTube, and
Hmm.
it's all fair. It's like there are things that Otto Porter Jr. does better. There's things that
Yeah.
he does worse than JaMychal Green. And in terms of age, JaMychal Green is a few years older, but Otto Porter Jr. is more injury prone over the last several
Mm-hmm.
years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's things, and that's what it's about. You have a plan and you execute that plan, and then you see where where everything how it all plays out. There's 82 games,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
82
yeah.
games, and the Warriors, they, I mean, as a fan, like, we look at these 82 games differently, or at least we should, than we did before the dynasty, right? 82
Right.
games is like, oh, let's see if we can get an all-star or if we can sniff the playoffs. And if not, let's see how far we can tank. Now it's
Right.
like, okay, the playoffs are a given. We have our
Right.
standard
Right. Right.
bearers.
Right. Yeah.
Let's like bring everybody along and get them ready for those final 16 wins. Honestly, like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's what you're
That's
playing for. Yeah.
that's how it is. But that being said, I've also talked a lot about all this Kevin Durant chatter.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on that? Do you want KD back first and foremost? That's that question.
It seems, well, I mean, it's funny that was even like a legitimate question or like a legitimate thought now. But I mean, and not to knock him, but yeah, he's still absolutely one of the best players in the league. But I saw as soon as they let Gary Payton II go,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way they're going to mortgage their future again just to bring back KD, who yes, yeah, like sure would be great, but you're not gonna. It would the cost would be just it would be untenable. What anyone would want, what Brooklyn would want back, it's not
Yeah.
worth it. And plus, I still love the guy, and obviously, as a player, fantastic. But I think the other thing we were talking a bit about, just like just the Warriors mold, the Warriors kind of mindset, the Warriors mentality. I don't think he has it. I mean, he's a little too. The guys on Twitter all the time. He's like got fake burner accounts and stuff, and he's like, that's not. That's a level of petty that that goes beyond what any of the other guys have, and that frankly, that's just too distracting to to the game. And
Yeah.
you can't have that.
Yeah. And, again, I've talked about this before and I, prefer not to get KD back, but I do have the caveat that, I like to entertain. Here's the thing, like seeing those guys play basketball again, not in the sense that to see a reunion and relive the good old days,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a very, very amazing, unique brand of basketball. And if that were to happen, that would be a plus for me just to see that. I don't necessarily want it. But again, like I've had some interesting comments and I have thought about, okay, well, what would I be willing to give up? Who would I be willing to give up? So let me throw a couple scenarios out to you. Okay, so would you give up? Obviously, okay, Wiggins is a given because of salary, right, and position, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's just assume you wouldn't give up Poole, Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman all together, right?
Right.
You wouldn't. Okay.
No,
And
because that's the future of your team. Like that's the next iteration of your team.
then all of a sudden you're like the 2019 Warriors who were so top, 2018-19 Warriors who were so top heavy, and then once a couple injuries happen, and then plus they're like 4 years older. So I wouldn't do that at all. And let's just assume like picks, the more players that you include, the fewer picks. But I won't talk picks. So would you give up Wiggins, Poole, and Kuminga?
Oh, no. I mean, like Wiggins, like for sure. I mean, obviously, because like Wiggins is essentially, I mean, he took his place. And obviously he's, not. He's a lesser version, but he's still pretty good. Yeah. And so it all hinges on Wiggins, yes. But I would try. Well,
what's your limit? Let me ask you, what is your limit? Your combination of guys.
If they would
your best offer,
they would do Wiggins and Wiseman. Maybe some picks or something, or like cash or something. Like I would think about it. I think because like Wiseman is still, that's the like human beings. Just I think we talked about this last time, but just like human beings aren't meant to be that big, without getting injured. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not supposed to be that big, and that's why I think it's always such a gamble on a big man, because you just never know. It could be a Greg Oden situation. Because people just aren't built to be. They're not. We haven't evolved to the point where you can play 82 games like that and not get injured.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be willing to why, as good as he looks, it's like it's still a big question mark.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'd go for just Wiggins and Wiseman. That would be
yeah, no, that's not
a
going to
lot
happen.
more back. Yeah,
That's not going to happen. I would again, because I would prefer not doing the trade. Like I'd be like, okay, Wiggins, Moody. Oh man, I as much as I like Poole and Moody, I would want to hold on to Wiseman and Kuminga more than the other two guys, to be honest. Obviously Kuminga, and Poole, you're gonna have to pay him. And again, this is me I'm not trying to get rid of these guys, but just trying to think through this scenario.
Right.
You're gonna have to pay Poole. Durant obviously fills a lot of the scoring load. And Wiseman is unique, and I'm just attached to that guy. I'm a stan. And then Kuminga is just such a has such a high ceiling. And then Moody, I think, because he has a lower ceiling. I love Moody, but I guess if I had to give a pseudo realistic offer that obviously the Nets would reject right away, no matter what, it'd be like Wiggins, Poole, and Moody, right?
Right.
And then picks and whatever. And I honestly think the Nets would just be like, "I'll get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
That being said, right now there's chatter about the Celtics being interested in KD. Me personally, I think every team, the Warriors too, I think this is all about due diligence. If KD wants to
guess so. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Kick the tires and you find out.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'm guessing the Nets leaked this because they were like, okay, let's try to up the value, or let's try to scare a team, maybe like the Warriors, to say okay, we're going to make the Celtics even better and then move it. Or they're just trying to screw with the Celtics and be like, oh, hey, now you have to patch this relationship with Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But what do you think about that, Jay? If you're Boston, do you do that move?
I mean, I think it's like you said, I guess every GM has to do their due diligence and just kind of check it out. But if they're honestly thinking about that, then they're a lot dumber than I thought they were. It's come on, that team, man, that's a good team, and they almost beat us. And honestly, when we were down 0-1, and then 1-2, it was like this, because by every measurable metric, I would say at least the starting five, I think they were the better team. I mean, just in terms of physical metrics, they're younger, they're longer, they're stronger. By those metrics, they were the better team, I think. But it's the intangibles, experience or hustle or whatever, that ultimately, I think proved to be the difference. But yeah, to obviously, they got some moves they got to make, but the core of that team, why would you do that? And Jaylen Brown, he was the best guy on that team, I think, at least in the finals, because Tatum straight up, he vanished, he disappeared, and maybe a lot of it was Wiggins' defense. I think certainly had it, but this, and that was, I think, was where their youth and inexperience showed up, because he's straight up the last 3 or 4, he just kind of, there's that gif of that kid, he goes peace, and he kind of vanishes like ghosts, he disappeared, man. I don't know, it was crazy to watch, but I was happy for it, but I was like, wow, that guy just faded away. But Jaylen Brown, every game he would have been their MVP, I think. And to talk about you're right, if that was a legitimate thing, he should be pissed off, and that could be damaging for them to if they're really thinking of like trading him for KD. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, because it
Crazy.
would also include, they're talking about, the Celtics want to include Derek White, but the Nets, they want Marcus Smart
Sure, sure.
and, a couple other pieces and picks. So, me personally, it's like, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, I personally don't want KD, even though we've lost some guys. I think we've picked up some guys, and I think the young guys, I think you just need like one or two of them to make a decent leap, whether,
Yeah,
and I'm throwing Poole into that category
yeah,
too. If it's Poole or Kaminga or Moody or Wiseman, you just need one or two of them to make a significant leap. They'll all improve. But
yeah,
if one or two, like, actually, like, whoa, if somebody shows out the way Jordan Poole did, if any of those like 3 lottery picks, then it's a whole nother story. But with the Celtics, I agree. It's like you just won the Eastern Conference, and
yeah,
yes, maybe you would have lost to the Bucks, or yes, you just eked by the Heat, but you got there and you had a chance, and you added some vets. You added Malcolm Brogdon, you
yeah,
added
yeah.
Danilo
No, that's
Gallinari,
that's
so
great
you
point.
have more firepower. And the thing to me, it's like, you know, it's funny, right? Because as fans of a team, uh, you live with that team. You're here
Yeah,
for
right,
the beginning of your fandom till the day you die.
right.
And GMs and front office people and coaches, they have contracts. They have limited time, right?
Mm,
And
hmm.
so it's like, this is like the Stan Van Gundy thing in Detroit. And I've referenced this before. You remember how Van Gundy was up for the Warriors coaching job. He interviewed before Steve Kerr, but he also wanted like GM duties. And
Mm,
that was like a no-no. And
yeah,
so he went away. We hired Kerr, and uh, he went off. Van Gundy went off to Detroit, traded for Blake Griffin because he wanted to make a splash. That's kind of like an old school mentality. It's like make a
right,
splash, win, and he
right.
he screwed that Detroit Pistons team after he got fired, after he left. They just left wandering, and luckily they've come back with some great draft picks, but it took a while, right? So to me, it's like, if you look at a team like the Celtics, it's like, oh, if you get KD, then you are like by far the favorites.
Right.
But is that really worth it? Because as we talked about, the dude is 34. He's, I'm not even talking about the Achilles. He's had some knee stuff because freak accidents and stuff. But still, if you kind of gut your team a little bit, lose Brown, lose Smart, lose maybe another guy or two, then your depth is lacking. And yes, you still have those guys you picked up, but like they're not gonna bring you the
No,
title per se.
no.
I'd rather, like, to me, that's just a big gamble that I think like an organization could make, but because they're like, oh, we need to get this title, we need to get number
Yeah,
18,
yeah, yeah,
and we're
yeah.
so close, and they just want to get that one. But I feel like fortunate that the Warriors, they have a little more foresight, and they can see the long view, and they have the players to do that. So sorry, that's a long-winded way of me saying I definitely wouldn't do that trade,
No, no.
especially if you have to give up Marcus Smart. But like it could all be smoke and mirrors just to drive KD's price up. Me personally, I hope KD doesn't get traded. I want to see what
Right.
happens,
No, totally.
and if
Oh,
Kyrie goes back too.
yeah. No, but I think you're right. I think it is probably them just trying to drum up some a little interest or something because I can't imagine that would be a real consideration because honestly, Boston's rotation was already really short. You know,
Mhm.
uh, and so if you're going to be losing that many guys, then you're just down to like your starters basically, and then just like a garbage bench. It's like that's not going to win a championship. And I think that's
Yeah.
the mentality that we see that like people think stars win championships. It's like, no, I mean, it's good to have stars, but it's the team, like the whole team, like 6 through 8, who also
Mhm.
like these guys who like they make the little contributions that matter,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the big reasons why the Warriors beat the Celtics because we had a longer rotation. We had more guys that we could get out there,
Right. Right.
pick up.
Which is funny. Which is funny because everybody before the finals was like the Celtics are deeper. That's what they were
It
saying.
proved to be the case, yeah, because especially because the guys I think who who they thought were going to show up didn't show up
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
And the Warriors, the game plan to kind of nullify some of those dudes,
Yeah.
And also the bright lights shook them for sure. And it's funny because I remember like the Spurs series, what was it, 2013? Was that 2013, 2012, 2013, where the Warriors lost in like the second round after they beat the Nuggets or something. I always talk about how like the Tim Duncan Spurs would always just kind of lull the Warriors and then just beat them, right? And it's fascinating because that's how I see these games. And it's like, I love the fact, like I really cherish the fact that like we are that team now. This almost inevitability that may not win, but they're sure going to put like a run on you. Like it's the other guys who are the young guys who need to learn how to win. But on the KD thing, man, it's like, if you're Tatum, and I've said this too, like Tatum, he's young, he can still obviously improve, but he didn't prove to me that he's that guy. You already talked about how he kind of pieced out in the finals. But if you're trying to be that guy, KD isn't going to help you become that guy.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true.
I wouldn't want that if I'm him personally.
No, he'd be a step in the wrong direction.
All right. Well, that was part 1. Tune in for part 2 coming up soon. This has been another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Patrick Epino, Epino, or at Oakland Warriors. You can find Feo everywhere on the internet at Feodor Chin, Feochin. Check us out at oaklandwarriors.com, and be sure to tune into our YouTube channel. You can watch these episodes on YouTube. Be sure to tell your fellow Warrior fan friends to tune in and listen. The Oakland Warriors podcast is produced by National Film Society and is a part of the Basketball Podcast Network. And if you're so inclined, please do leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify, and leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts. That would be hugely helpful, and is always really, really appreciated. That's it. Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time, and go Dubs.